Buenas noches, profesora. Buenas noches, estudiantes. Siendo las 9:15, damos inicio a nuestra sesión número 6 de perfil de el adulto en situaciones de aprendizaje con la profesora Vivian Vargas. Profesora, pasó a compartir los parámetros de la sesión. Respetados estudiantes, estos son los parámetros de las sesiones por videoconferencia. Las sesiones se graban. Podemos tener acceso nuevamente desde nuestra plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien su micrófono y puedan activarlo cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con el permiso del docente. Les pedimos que mantengan su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar sus excusas por el chat de Zoom. O de lo contrario, serán retirados de la sesión y les serán restados puntos de la valoración del docente. Pero como moderador les facilitaría apoyarlos en la parte técnica. Las consultas las hacemos por el chat personal o general. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo estas sesiones. Sesiones que tienen un tiempo de duración de 60 minutos o una hora. Estamos listos, profesor.
Muchísimas gracias, Rafael. Buenas noches. Hello, everyone. How are you? How have you been? How was your week? Well, the week hasn't finished officially, but it's almost over. Tomorrow is Friday, and that's good news, right? Okay, let's go ahead and let's start our class for today. So the first thing that we are going to check in a second is our moment. Let me look for our PowerPoint that we have over here. And then we have the following as follows. Here we have. This is the PowerPoint for the class. I don't know why is it there if I'm here. Okay, good. So this is the PowerPoint that we have for today. And then we are going to be having today class number 6. In class number 6, we have the following. First of all, let's start with the agenda for today. We have the class instructions that we are going to be reading, the class objectives that are very, very important for you to know, the introduction, the class development, and a homework reminder, okay? Good. Now let's talk about what we have to do for this class. Go, and let us go. I'll share it with you. So, for this class, we have module number 4. Now, for module number 4, we have 2 topics. The first one was phone classes. We were talking about that last Monday, remember, because we couldn't have classes last Friday. So we were talking about this last Friday. And then after that, for today, we have adult assessment. Okay, la evaluación del adulto. How it differs from the evaluation for students, from children. That's what I mean. And then we have here our instructions, the same instructions we have there. We can read them from here. The first thing is that we have to locate in a place where we are safe, where we are quiet, where we can focus and we don't get distracted. The second one is to read objectives carefully, which we will do as we always do. Because this will help you. They will help you to understand what you want to learn. So at the end, we go back to them and we make sure that we have. Then we have to make it easier for you. It's divided in modules, and do not skip tasks. This is important. Complete each one of them in the given order. Just as they show you, you first check the videos on your own, check the readings on your own, after even having the class, then you go to the assignments, and after doing that, you do the test. And then you go back to the objectives that you have here at the beginning, and then you will have the opportunity to say, you know what, I did learn, and now I know something I did. Identify the tools used to assess adult learners. We're going to be talking about that, and then we have two things to do. First of all, we are going to be checking the video, okay? And then we're going to be checking the video, and then after we check the video, we are going to be reading this I would love to have you here to share it with you. And then we're going to be reading with you and asking questions, answering questions over here about the topic, just to make sure that we understand that. So remember, the objective is tools used to assess adult learners. What are the tools used? That's what we are going to do now. Now, last week, we were talking about 6 tips for adult learnings and fun classes for adult learnings. In the fun classes, they were giving you some things like a bingo, activities that you could do in the classroom that, yes, they could have fun with it, but at the same time, they could learn with this. And the other one was the six tip for adult learning. And then we were talking about, you remember, like the need to know, readiness to learn, orientation, motivation, experience, and the other one, I don't remember. And so this is what we were talking about last class. Then we have the activities. For the activities, we have a couple of them. We have, first of all, a video. You need to watch a video and then you need to do this. We talked about this last class, but I just want you to have it into consideration. And in the second one, you have watch this video and then record a 2-minute audio explaining how this method of self-assessment, explaining the video, could be applied in adult or English foreign language learners. Now, important, this one is for the objective number 1, this one is for the objective number 2, okay? You have the guidelines of how to do it and everything, and then after you do all that, then you go with the test, okay? So you have here the assessment rubric that we consider. I don't know if you have it in your student page. So let's start then, now that we know, remember, this is the objective. Identify the tools used to assess adult learners. So let's go ahead and let's start with the video, okay? The video that we have, and then we will be able then to, let's go and share the video, give me a second. Then we will have the opportunity to share the sound. And then here we have it. Yes. We're going to check the video as the video runs, plays. I'm going to be stopping and then I'm going to be, sharing with you some insight and asking questions and everything, and then we will continue. Good? Thank you. Let's go. And let me try to open this for you to see it through there. Yes, that's way better.
Do you want to be a better teacher to adults? I'm sure you do. That's why you're watching this video. Well, if you ask me, personally, I think that when we are teaching children, it just takes a lot of physical effort because you have to move around, you have to be comical, you have to use props. But teaching adults can be mentally exhausting because it takes a lot of mental and intellectual efforts for you to be able to effectively teach an adult student. That's why for today's video, I'll be sharing with you the secrets to being able to teach adult students effectively.
Okay, so we have here 2 things. On one side, we have, she talks about how teaching children drains you. Because you have to be moving, you have to be funny or comic, she said. You have to prepare things, the things have to be beautiful, and the flowers and the things, it's completely exhausting. And the activities and the next activity, it's completely exhausting. Then, in the case of the physical, it's exhausting. But in the case of the adults, they show here, she says here, how it is difficult because it drains you mentally. Te drena mentalmente. It drains you mentally. You get very, very tired, and it's difficult because you are just exhausted. Okay, when doing this, and that's true. Let's continue with the video.
In my 8-year experience of teaching adults, I realized that the question that you must always answer when teaching adults would be the question, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Not you, teacher, but the student. What's in it for your student? You have to remember that by human nature, adults like us are usually selfish, and selfless. You know, we can be selfless when we take care of our children or family, when we sacrifice, but many of our actions and decisions in life are also because of selfish reasons. Because you're thinking of improving yourself, boosting your self confidence, being a better person, being better at your job. And notice, all those things are all about you and me. Because again, by human nature, adults like us are selfish. That's why whenever we teach adults, it's important that we always answer the question, what's in it for me? And I'm not pointing towards myself because I'm the teacher. What's in it for them, the student? And if you get to answer that question, I'm sure you will be an effective teacher to your.
Okay, so here we have the first thing that she says is that whenever you are planning to teach adults, you have to have something into consideration, and there is an answer, a question you need to answer. What's in it for me? ¿Qué hay para mí? Panaméñense. ¿Qué hay para mí? ¿Ok? ¿De qué me sirve eso? ¿Cómo eso me va a hacer ganar? ¿Cómo eso me va a hacer mejor? ¿Ok? That's the first question. For them, for the students, okay? So you want to think how you are going to teach them is going to answer that question. Let's continue listening to her.
Your adult students. Now let's talk about my tips. Tip number 1, relevance is key. You know, when we're going to be defining the word relevance, it's just all about what's in it for me. How will your lesson, how will your teachings influence me or help me? What will I do with the things that you are teaching me? That's why when you're teaching adults, it's important that you correlate it to what they do. You could say,
So it says here, keep it relevant, okay? It has to be relevant, tiene que ser relevante, tiene que ser importante para el estudiante, okay? It's something that the student says like, oh, okay, yes, I didn't know that. Oh, I can apply that this way. Oh, this is going to help me this way. This is the first one. Then let's do that. So you have to keep it relevant. What else do you have to do? Let's see.
oh, it's a great thing that we're talking about this topic today because you could use it on your job. Or you could say, oh, isn't it you told me that you will be having a trip to America by 2022 or by the end of the year? Oh, it's great that we'll have this lesson at least. You'd be able to speak with foreigners more. Notice.
And the second thing that you need to do is to relate the lesson to what they do. Because when you say like, okay, for example, you say he works in a call center. So I'm giving him this role plays where they, have to practice the back and forth, This is gonna help him. So, okay, listen to them. We're gonna have certain role plays. And for example, you that work in a call center, in Spanish right now, you want to go to one in English. This is going to help you to develop some skills. Okay, so I'll do it better because I know what I'm doing. Let's continue.
Notice that instead of the teacher using the word me, I kept on using the word you. You will be able to. Oh, you'll be able to use this here. You would be able to do this. You. That's what we mean by relevance. Tip number 2, be relatable. Whatever you're teaching, regardless of the topic, it must be something that your adults could relate to emotionally. There has to be emotions integrated to what you're teaching them. You could draw past experiences, either your experiences or the student's experiences, and relate that new learning to those things. Let's say, whenever you're teaching the concept of starting a conversation, you could say, I remember when I was 21 years old, I got to speak with a foreigner for the very first time, and I had difficulty understanding them because they talk too fast. Have you ever experienced that? As you can see, we're relating the lesson to your experience as a teacher or your student's experience because adults have the tendency to link new learnings, new topics, or anything new basically to their past experiences. That is the human nature of adults, and that's basically what adult learning is all about. We always relate it.
So the first one was keep it relevant, and then she mentioned a couple of things, and then she mentioned be relatable. Okay, relatable to what? You can mention something. Was important is that you can mention related to people's experience. It goes into emotions, and it's very true because if the person feels comfortable there, and I have taught adults, believe me, I know how it is. When the person feels comfortable, they just come back over and over. I used to work in a language center, and it was part of a university here in Canada. And I remember that I finished my first, it was level 1. And I had this group of students, they went until the last year of the last day of classes of the module that was like 2 months. Everybody there. And then they had to go to another level and they come back. They came back, sorry. All of them came back. And they came back. And then they had another teacher. She happened to be an ex-coworker of mine somewhere else, so I knew her. And she was a very nice person and everything. But they came back to me every time and they said, "Julie miss you." And I said, "You have a good teacher. You have a very good teacher." No, she's a good teacher. But she's not like you. She doesn't have your spirit. She doesn't have that, the dynamic that you have. And it was because of that, because I made it relatable. They felt like family with me. And that's something important for you to do. Let's go to number 3. So the first one was, I totally forgot. The second one was keep it related. Keep it related. Make it relatable. Make it relatable. And the first one was, I already forgot. Let's go with this one. Give substantive feedback. De retroalimentación sustanciosa. O sea, como la sopa cuando está así bien potente.
Tip number 3, feedback is gold. Teachers, adults are practical learners. They value feedback and suggestions because they know that these are things that could help them better themselves. And remember, by human nature, adults can be selfish at times, so these people would want to improve themselves. That's why we, teachers, must avoid giving generic feedback like, "You were good in class, you were amazing." Question is, what made me good? What made me amazing? You could say, "I noticed that you're reading faster now compared to our previous classes. I noticed that you've been enunciating the V sound, especially when you were saying the word invention. Good job on practicing your V sound. Now, for your areas for improvement, I need you to work on your TH sound because sometimes if you don't produce the th sound correctly, that might change the meaning of what you're trying to say, and people might get confused when they speak to you." You see, I also made my feedback relevant at the same time I was giving substantial feedback solely based on what happened in class. So, teachers, once again, let's refrain from giving generic feedback. Tip number
So, be relatable. Then the other one was, this one is giving substantive or giving a good, complete feedback. And then she's talking about, some of the say good or things like that. But I think it's if you give a very good feedback when you are in a classroom. Because what happens when it's virtual, you have other people in the classroom and then you try to correct the person in front of the others. If not, someone can take it bad or something is not very nice. But yes, when you're in a classroom and then you have to come to the person and say, "This is okay, this is better, congratulations on this and everything you do." And then we have some areas of opportunity, and this one is an area of opportunity, this and this and this. This is going to help the student recognize what they are doing well and what they need to work on. So it's important that we do so. It's not that it's bad that you say good job. If the person does a good job, you say good job. Provide knowledge extension. So we have the relatable, we have give feedback, and the first one I don't remember, and then we have number 3, provide knowledge. That's it for me, but we haven't even. Let's go.
number 4, give as much knowledge extension as you can. You know what makes teaching adults challenging? It's the fact that they have high expectations. When you teach children, it's quite easy. You just become, make crazy stuff or do crazy stuff in class, and you're okay, you're good. But when you're teaching adults, they have high expectations. They want to learn as many things as possible from your class. That 25 minutes, that 55 minutes, or whatever the duration is you have with the adult student, they have to maximize that time to learn as many things as possible. That's why, as mentioned earlier, teaching adults can be mentally and intellectually exhausting because you have to come up with ways to teach and teach and teach them new things, pronouns, grammar, vowels, pronunciation, new words, and so on, for them to gain as much information or as many information from your class. Now, teachers, when it comes to teaching adults, what's really important is the talk time. You still have to consider that despite the knowledge extension. Even though you're teaching them a lot of stuff, you have to encourage them to talk. When you're speaking to advanced students, 70% of the time, your students should be the ones talking. When you are teaching beginner adult students, 50% of the time, your adults or your adult students should be the ones talking. Number 5, motivate and appreciate.
Okay, thank you. So we have here the knowledge extension. And then in the knowledge extension, she's talking about, or she talks about several things. And one of them, she talks about how important it is for students to be able to speak in the class. Okay, and then she mentioned something about how beginners, they should speak 50% of the time, and if they are advanced students, they should speak 70% of the time. And it's important, that they get all the knowledge. And then she says that that's the reason why it's so exhausting, because it's knowledge extension, because they know things and you want to give them more knowledge. But then that's why it's more difficult. And then she mentioned it, that when you have children, they don't know. So what you give them, they're excited about what you give them. But adults, if they know very many things, when they come to you, they want to know what is what you can give them. Then you have, as a teacher, you have to be prepared more, and then you have to figure what you have to give them. Okay, let's go. So we said keep it relevant. Then we said acknowledge, be relevant, be relatable, knowledge extension, and give feedback, and now motivate and share.
Whenever we're teaching adults, it's important that we also acknowledge all their efforts. Sincerely let them know that they did a great job. Oh, you did a great job. Oh, wow, you improved a lot in terms of your reading pace. Good job. Because appreciating an adult would also be motivating them to be better, motivating them to continue what they're doing, and also acknowledging their efforts. As adults, we feel good when we are appreciated. And of course, we feel bad when our efforts aren't seen by people. So, likewise, when we are teaching adults, these are the two things that you must constantly do: motivate them and appreciate them, because motivation is like that driving force for them to continue to better themselves. And every time we appreciate them, we kind of give them that push to be better or to continue what they're doing. And that's also the reason, of course, why we give them feedback.
So she says now about motivation and appreciation. That's what I told you before. It's not bad to say a person, hey, good. Although sometimes people don't know how to react to that. The other day I told a student, he read, I asked him to read something, he read, and then I said, I love your diction and I love your pacing. You did a very nice job. And the intonation was really, really good. And he was like, okay. I mean, people are not used to that. People are not used to having people telling them, good things about them. And then I was like, I mean, he's 14 years old, and I was like, you just have to say thank you. He said thank you. He didn't know how to react, and you can see how much people need it. Okay, in general, whatever you go, and then you tell people like you look nice or something, and then they are like. So in the case of this, it's important that you motivate them and appreciate them. Motivate them and appreciate them. You show appreciation, and by showing appreciation, saying good job, saying this is good, hey, I love the way you did this, hey, how much you have improved. Hey, you remember when you came here at the very beginning? And you were like, it was difficult for you. And now look at you, you are able to pronounce words and to say a complete sentence. That's wonderful. When you say something like that, they feel appreciated and they feel motivated to continue. So we have make it relevant, be relatable, and give feedback. And the last one, give feedback, and the other two. Now we check them all together, and then now knowledge stage extension, and then this one that we just saw that was appreciate, and motivate. We have 5. We have 6, but I don't know. Make learning fun. Let's go.
Tip number 6, make learning fun. Just because you are teaching adult students doesn't mean that you have to be boring, teacher. Don't be boring. Be a friend. You know, the easiest way to be fun in class is to tie up the student's interest to the lesson. Always connected, correlated. Let's say the student's hobby is basketball. Oh, take a look at this. This lesson is all about starting a conversation. Well, if you meet new people whenever you play basketball, you could use these phrases below to start a conversation with them. Therefore, you can make friendships, right? So as you can see, guys, I'm just correlating whatever the lesson is to things that they like. That makes it more fun, more interesting, more engaging for the student. And it's an effective way for you to encourage retention, to motivate the student, and to allow them to really learn the new concepts that you are teaching them. Finally, encourage questions. Don't be afraid.
So we have this one that is making fun. She didn't talk that much about it in the thing. She's talking about correlating things with the other things, and then that way we make it fun. There are other ways to make it fun. For example, you play a Kahoot, but you play a Kahoot like, you know what Kahoot is, right? So you play a Kahoot that is something controlled by you. You control the pacing, and then you use it to review, and they love it. You play Bamboozle. You play Bamboozle, and then you love it. But they don't, what's the word? They don't, you do it controlled with the purpose of the learning and to review, and then you ask questions in the middle. There are a lot of things that they can use today. You give them like they have a vocabulary thing they're learning, you give them like a crossword, they love it. Things like that help them to have fun at the same time that they're learning. And then we have now encourage questions. So we talk about the relevant, relatable, knowledge extension, feedback, appreciation, make it fun, encourage questions. We have 8, but we are missing one. Number 1, we are missing.
To ask for more questions. Why? Because once again, adults would like to maximize the things that they would be gaining from your class. And one of the ways to maximize the things that they will learn would be to ask questions, for them to ask you questions, things that they have in mind that they'd like to find answers on. And do not ask the question, do you have questions? Because that's like a yes or no question. They'll just say no, no, no every time. Instead, you could ask the question, what questions do you have? What questions do you have about these words? What questions do you have about this topic? There you have it, teachers. This
She has lots of energy. That's good. She has lots of energy. Okay, so let's okay, the first one was relevant, the next one was relatable. Then we had feedback, then we have knowledge extension, then we had make it fun, then we have motivate and appreciate, then we had this last one that was encourage questions. And yes, this is important that you do it the way she did it. What questions do you have about this? Or ask questions. So according to this, tell me, what is what you understood about this? You know, what is what you understood about it? Because usually when you say questions, nobody says anything. So yes, we have to switch the way we have students ask questions. Now, so now that we finished there, second, then you go here. And then we have first the video. Let me go. Let me share it with you. So we have what in the video is something new for you, or something you would like to apply as a teacher to your adult students. What was new for you there? In my case, there wasn't like anything new. And I try to apply all of them. I try to do things. I try to work, but then I try to make it moving sometimes, and then I have them stand up and I have them do things when first of all, they have to be here. And second of all, usually that's it's easier for classrooms, for classes when you are like in presential classes or in-person classes, okay? Now let's continue, and it says now that we are going to take a look at the reading. And we are going to play a bamboozle. Let's see if we have the time to play a bamboozle here, the video, and after the video, we have this. What are the two main ways to assess adult learners? And give an example of how to evaluate a lesson in a formative or summative way. Okay. Now, let's go to the thing. Let's see if we have the chance to play bamboozle, because I'm sure you are going to love it. You'll see that. Let's take a look at the thing. We are not gonna go like, thing after thing. So this is what happens. What is what we need to understand? It says evaluations often include a crucial element for measuring adult learners' outcomes. Thus, such evaluations are connected to public and private decision-making processes that serve blah, 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 blah. But we don't want to talk about that. Usually, evaluations are separated as either formative or summative. Formative evaluations are done through a course to evaluate a student's learning process and are used to alter, modify, or improve the process. It's what we call in Panama una formativa. To be honest, I don't remember to have listened to that in Colombia, not when I was a girl, but things have changed. Una formativa, una evaluación formativa. Una summativa, they say here in Panama. Formative evaluations are this. Okay. Voy a hacer una evaluación formativa para ver qué tanto han entendido. Repaso, y entonces después, then you make a summative evaluation donde tú vas a revisar qué es lo que ellos saben. Now let's say, it says, often they provide feedback to both educators and learners while the program is still ongoing. Summative evaluations are retrospective assessments conducted after the learner has completed the course or program of the lesson. In other words, formative methods are an assessment for learning, whereas summative one is an assessment of learning, okay? Because this one is for learning because you check what is not okay, and then, okay, we have to reinforce this part. But then you have the summative, that is a evaluation of learning. I want to know what you learned or what you didn't learn. So let's talk a little bit about it. It says, what are the differences that they have? Assessment is continuous, okay? Like every day, like every activity you have to check. For example, I'm going to be teaching capitalization next week, okay? Not teaching, reviewing capitalization. So I give them a sentence, I check, and then I have them tell me what are the words that they have to put into capital letter. And then I check more or less what they know or what they don't know. And then I show the chart. And then after I show the chart, I give them two different practices, okay? So in each practice, I check what they did and how much they know. And after that, I make a code. It's a control thing, but it lets me see. And then the next week, because it's only 2 periods we have for that. And then in any other class, we are going to be working on, what's the name? They have to write, because the students have a process. I'm going to give them a list of things, and then they have to write. For example, it's like, we're going to see like 5 rules of capitalization. There are more, but we're going to see 5. So for each rule, they have to give me 2 sentences of each, okay? And then at that moment, they're doing. And then after that, they have a classwork, okay? And that classwork, they have to do it individually, and it's a formative assessment that is going to let me see how much they have learned or not, and if they are going to be ready for next class evaluation. And that's the way it goes. So summative evaluation is performed at the end of a unit, lesson, or a course. Formative assessment observes the performance during the process and improves it. Okay. Summative assessment is a final score to judge if the learner has attained the learning objectives. Formative assessment targets students' learning improvement and advancement. That's why it's required that we give meaningful feedback. The formative is conducted multiple times during the process. As I told you, I ask them before I start, before I show them the chart. Then I have 1, 2 practices. Then I have a Kahoot, 3 things. Then they have to do the sentences. All those are formative. And then after that, they have an evaluation. You see? And then this is one. So these are the things that we need to know about this. Now, it says, when does the formative assessment take place? Rich conversations between teachers and learners that continually build and go deeper. Provision of constructive, timely feedback to enable learners to advance their learning. Teachers modifying instructional approaches to respond to shared learning goals and outcomes. Okay. It says, it's a critical component because it's how you will make decisions about grouping learners, calibrate your expectations for performance, and personalized instruction. Then you have what we call differentiated instruction. That is something that has become really, really, really common today. Why? Because in every classroom, you have people that are here and you have people that are here. Usually there are not so many people in between. You have like the best of the best or the not so best of the not so best. And in this case, the teachers need to do something different. Let's read about it. So it says, differentiated instruction is defined as the planning and delivery of classroom instruction that considers the varied levels of readiness, learning needs, and interests of each learner. Instructors practice this approach by using a range of routines and tools to engage learners at varying levels of readiness in multiple ways by offering them options for demonstrating their understanding of the material. Okay. Differentiated instruction is a way that you have the people that you know that they can do it on their own after giving a short explanation and working with having them work on something, and then going with the others and giving them a lower level or something of what they have to do. You see, that's something that is really, really common today. And we have the references, and that would be it for this. Now, let's go to this one that I do with you to finish the day and to do something. Rafael.
Sí, profesora, después.
¿Estás allí? Espérame un momentito, por
Sí, no se
favor.
preocupe.
No te vayas. Wait for a second. No me dejes sola. Wait for a second. Let me see if this works. Let me see if this works. Let me see. Vamos a ver si esto funciona. Ok, Rafa. Lo que vas a hacer tú es que me vas a ayudar con los números. Ok. Yo te digo y tú me dices. Second. That's it. In a moment. Here we're going to repeat. And team number 1 is called Rafa. Let's see what happens here with Rafa. Okay, Rafa. So, Rafael, I need you to choose a number, Rafa. Escoge un número, Rafael, disculpa.
Número 10.
Okay, let's go. So let's go with number 10 and let's see. What are the ages of late adulthood? The ages of late adulthood. La edad ya cuando ya tú estás viejo, mayor. In my opinion, is 70 up. Okay, let's see what happens here. Ay, no, dije 45 o 60. Ya eres un viejo, imagínate. Ups, perdimos, Rafa. Rafa, another number.
16.
How do adult learners differ from young learners? 3 ways. Ok, el adult learner trae experiencia que no tiene el niño. El adult learner está motivado por sí mismo a ir a aprender. And the adult learner, the adult learner wants to know how they can apply what they learn into their lives. Critical motivated, they want to have no desire, but knowledge and experience. Rafa, no todo número, Rafa.
8.
8, Rafa. Describe the principle of experiential learning. No tengo ni idea. Then let's go. It says experience. Experiential learning, survival knowledge is utilized as valuable resource in class as possible. O sea, me gusta. Dale, Rafa.
12.
Provide three characteristics of adult learners. They need to know, the readiness to learn, orientation, motivation, experience, and what was the other one? There was a sixth one, but we have them. Así las tenemos todas. Otro número, Rafa.
1.
Let's go, pues. Ay, Dios mío, además, perdemos 10 puntos, Rafa. Dale, Rafa, cuéntame.
11.
Let's go. Describe the principle of motivation. The principle of motivation says that in the case of an adult, the motivation can be intrinsic or extrinsic. That means internal or external. So it says that in the case of the adults, most of the time this is intrinsic, okay? And in the case of the children, most of the time it's external. Let's go.
9.
Describe the principle of problem solving. The principle of problem solving, it says that adults like to have their task oriented or their problem oriented. So they like to have the opportunity for you to give them something to do so they can solve it because they do using the experience that they have and what they have. Problem solving.
5.
What are the ages of early adulthood? Bueno, sería como de los 18 a los 25. Okay. Yes, ahí estamos. Continue, Rafa, please.
13.
Perdimos 15 puntos, Rafa. Estamos mal. No sé más sino robarnos con lo mucho que nos ha costado. Dale, Rafa.
15.
Describe the principle of self-directed learning. Self-directed learning refers to the fact that adults, they are able to learn by themselves because since the motivation is different, what they do is that they look for information and they get what they need to do, as you do here in sentence. Vamos, vamos.
4.
Describe the principle of using students for works. Since they have a life, they are parents, they are, parents, they have jobs with different positions and things like that. You correlate your class as we learn in the beginning to what they're learning, what they are doing here, so they can feel motivated. Connect to the correct works. Continue, Rafa, dale.
14.
14, no aguanto que me quiten un punto más, Rafa. 3 similarities in teaching and teaching children. 3 similarities. They all want to win. It's one of them. And the other one I could say would be something like, no sé, eso sí, no sé cómo lo quieren. And short-term reader, task, be respectful relationship with the staff, be friendly, but be different. No fuimos para dale.
7.
Dios mío. No es posible, el universo conspira con nosotros, nos han quitado 50 puntos de poco en poco. Dale, Rafa.
12.
2. 12. Ah, okay. Who pioneered andragogy? In andragogy, we have Edward something, and we have Malcolm Knowles, and I don't know if they are talking about this. Let's see. And we have Michael Knowles and Edward LeBlanc, something like that. Michael Knowles, yes. We have been talking about him over and over. Well,
6.
oh, aguanto una pérdida más. How many principles of andragogy does Malcolm Knowles describe? Okay, he started with 4. Then he added a 5th one, and then they added a 6th, okay? Comenzó con 4, después hicieron uno más, el 5 y después 6. Yeah, it was 6. And 13. Name all 5 principles of andragogy. So they have the need to know, they have readiness to learn, they have orientation, self-orientation, they have motivation, and they have experience. You see? They are self-direction, experience, this one, problem solving, it's orientation or motivation. Rafa, de ahí, la cosa sacamos los 100 puntos, Rafa. Esto es the end of the world. Okay, let me go. Gracias, Rafa. Give me a moment. Why is it? So, people, you see, that's a way to do something different and to have students enjoy the class. Because this way, the person is there, you know, there is something that the essence of just feeling that you are playing something, but at the same time you are reviewing something, is something they love. And believe me, a los adultos les encanta. No es que aburrido eso para niños, no. They love it. They enjoy it a lot. Okay, so remember, the video for the first part, the video, well, it's not a video, you have to check a video, but then you have to make a recording, and then you have the test. And then with this, we finish for the day. I remind you that you can visit the virtual library whenever you need it to find any type of information. And I thank you for watching the video whenever you are watching it, and I'll be waiting for you. People, I need you to do homework and to do tests. I haven't seen anything from you, okay? Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Take care. Ya puedes terminar, Rafa, por favor.
Listo, profesora. Si no tenemos más consultas o aportes, podemos dar.
Ajá,
Si no tenemos más consultas o aportes, podemos dar como finalizada la sesión.
muy
Tengan todos
amable.
bien.
Gracias,
Bye.
Rafa. Buenas noches.